The 2024 Louisiana Legends interview series is brought to you by presenting sponsor, the Gail and Tom Benson Charitable Foundation. Our premier sponsor, Fishman Haygood LLP. Our platinum sponsor, Joan Swanson Hedel, with additional support provided in part by Louisiana Lottery and Roy O. Martin, with the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.
If I had to use two words to describe Chief Justice Bernette Joshua Johnson, I would describe her as a pioneer. I would describe her as a trailblazer.
She's a brilliant woman. I would describe my mom as a quiet force. She loves her family. When she talks, people listen.
I think about her graceful tenacity, her kindness to so many people, no matter their walks of life. And I think, most importantly, I think about the fact that she has always had as her North Star fairness and equity for everyone.
Chief Justice Johnson's journey began with remarkable determination. A valedictorian from her still segregated high school, Walter L. Cohen, she graduated at just 16 years old.
Received an academic scholarship to go to Spelman, and I think it's unheard of for someone in the segregated South to leave your home where you've never really been outside of New Orleans and just up and say, I'm going to Atlanta for college, but she did. And to my grandparents' credit, they supported her. I'm sure they were scared.
Bernette graduated from Spelman in 1964, then worked for a year desegregating public schools, persuading black parents to send their children to previously segregated institutions. This experience greatly influenced her decision to attend law school at LSU.
She always said she wanted to go to Boston for law school, and I think she took stock and she said, look, I'm convincing parents to send their 6-year-olds into, these white schools where they're not wanted. I can't be a hypocrite and go somewhere where it's going to be pretty comfortable for me. She was one of 2 black students. Both happened to be black women. Actually, Gamille Gray, Judge Gamille Gray, who's from Baton Rouge, who moved eventually to Virginia, and my mom.
Justice Bernette Joshua Johnson, what a pleasure to speak with you today. It's quite an honor to be with you here in New Orleans in the Louisiana State Supreme Court building, having this conversation with you today. So Justice Johnson, law school at that time, you were one of a few African Americans, obviously, that had attended LSU's law school. Had it been a 10-year span, as you said before, now you and your friend are going to law school at this point. What was it like as African American women in law school in a predominantly male-dominated field?
Well, there were few women in law school at that time. Gamille Gray and I graduated in a class of otherwise all white males. We had some folk who were supportive and some people who helped, and that it doesn't matter what situation you're in or how difficult the situation. There are always folks there to help, and I always give Professor Ben Schieber credit for assisting and advising us and encouraging us. And I can remember one conversation with him where he said, you don't have to be a martyr. Of course, Dr. King was assassinated in the spring of 1968, and I was a third-year law student at LSU. Tumultuous, and of course, that was hard to get through.
Bernette graduated from LSU in 1969. In the early chapters of her career, she focused primarily in the public sector. She honed her legal acumen as a law clerk for Ernest Dutch Morial and as a deputy city attorney for New Orleans. Her role as a community organizer with the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund further solidified her dedication to justice and equality.
This is an organization that's committed to providing legal representation to those who cannot afford legal representation. So she's a believer in the American system of justice, and she wants to ensure that everyone, regardless of money, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of sexual orientation, everyone has the opportunity to have adequate representation in the law.
Justice Johnson's legacy includes a series of firsts. The first woman to serve on the bench of the Civil District Court of New Orleans in 1984, and eventually in 2013 becoming the first African-American Chief Justice and the second female Chief Justice of the Louisiana Supreme Court. Her tenure was marked by 26 years as the sole African-American jurist on the bench until her retirement in 2020.
Justice Johnson was one who really made a difference in the state of Louisiana by being the first and definitely not being the only. Some people want to get on top of the mountain and stay there and be remembered for that, but she was never that type.
She would make sure that women, she would make sure that lawyers of color were in the room as important decisions were being made. And I'll say from a personal standpoint, she is someone whose footsteps I have tried to follow through the vast majority of my legal career.
How would you describe your judicial philosophy, and how has it evolved over your career?
I say I've always worked in the public sector. I've never worked for a huge law firm, business interests. I was always in public sector employment. I think if you talk with lawyers who practiced before me, I was always concerned about fundamental fairness. If lawyers appeared before me, I wanted them to understand that everybody has the same fair opportunity to prove their case, that I was rarely faced with a motion to recuse. That's been my foundation: fundamental fairness, equal protection under the law. That's what I believed in. That's what I learned in law school. That's what I think the American judicial system's all about. That everybody, regardless of background or connections, that you go into court, you present your case, and you have a fair opportunity for a judgment.
So what's some of the work that you think Justice Johnson remains to be done here in Louisiana?
Louisiana is still number one in the nation in locking up people. And the idea behind justice reinvestment was, let's see if we can reduce our prison population, particularly with folk who are incarcerated for low-level crimes, and give those people a second opportunity so that they can go home and raise their families and take the burden off the foster care system and all of the other burdens that are associated with a huge prison system. I haven't checked recently, but at one time we were spending something like $200 million a year to incarcerate people. And if you look at what other southern states are doing, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, they don't need to lock up as many people as we do. But sometimes we can get a mindset about creating private prisons as an economic opportunity, and then you've got to send people to those prisons to populate them.
What advice on a personal level would you offer, Justice Johnson, to the younger generation, younger women, and particularly those women of color who are interested in aspiring to the legal field or even the judiciary?
Well, I would say that we've got to maintain the rule of law. We've got to respect judges and courts. It's abhorrent to have law firms under attack because of the clients they represent. We have to have lawyers representing unpopular causes and unpopular people. The criminal justice system cannot function if the defendant doesn't have an attorney. And then to demonize the lawyer who represented that defendant, we just can't have that in America. We can't have folk disrespecting, harassing, and demonizing judges, and we've got to respect the rule of law.
Respect the rule of law along the way, and you said earlier that fundamental equity was something that you were, fundamental equality rather, is something that you are looking across the entire spectrum of the legal field to say that is something
we've got to do it. If we've lost our way, we've lost our way if judges are not respected, if people can threaten judges. We've lost our way if someone can make a phone call and make a difference in a lawsuit. We've lost our way.
What gives you hope in the Louisiana judicial system?
What gives me hope is when I have a chance to interact with young people and talk with them, to see that they love the law and that they inspire to make a difference and to work hard and to just make America great. So that's an inspiration to me.
Well, Justice Johnson, it has been my pleasure and my honor to have this conversation with you today and to bring forth, illuminate more things about your life and the future and your position as it relates to the legal profession. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The 2024 Louisiana Legends interview series is brought to you by presenting sponsor, the Gail and Tom Benson Charitable Foundation. Our premier sponsor, Fishman Haygood LLP. Our platinum sponsor, Joan Swanson Hedel, with additional support provided in part by Louisiana Lottery and Roy O. Martin, with the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.